Welcome, Weekend Warriors, to the Week 5 edition of the show. Had a special guest on last night, but the commish got to do his picks, his matchup predictions. So I'm the content king. The Thursday night king. I wear a lot of different crowns. But excited to get into it this week. I've been texting people, getting them a little riled up for this pod because tonight I'm going for my 8th pick in a row. I haven't picked a loser since September 8th on this show. And I'm just the hottest gambler on the planet with picks I give out on the show. I am 7-1 on the season with my picks. Last week I gave you the Arizona Cardinals plus 1.5. They actually ended as minus 1.5. They covered. They won by 10. And I also gave the Bengals minus 3.5 on Thursday Night Football. That was the 2 a game. Man, that feels like a lifetime ago talking about that. But another 2-0 week, which brings me 7-1 on the week on the season. So just great. Balone gave you his pick last night. But we'll wait a little bit before I deliver my first pick. I want to get into some news and notes. We don't do a lot of news and notes, but there's some notable things that happened this week. Number one, Dean, congratulations. You won fantasy baseball. Little crossover here of the leagues. I know we usually primarily talk about football, but it was a rematch of the finals last year when I beat Dean and won my second championship in a row. I was going for the three-peat and 4 and 5 years, but Dean took me down, and congratulations to him winning fantasy baseball. It's the week of Dean because last week he was the high scorer of the week. Congratulations, Dean. He was playing yours truly, who had a nice week, but Dean was too much for me. So the week of Dean, and I'll get into Dean's matchup here in a little bit because he's got a little bit of other excitement going on. But for my picks last week, I was 2-3. My first losing record week on the season picking fantasy football. The other news is the Phillies have made the postseason. Congratulations, Phillies. Nice applause there. So there's a game tomorrow. Hopefully they can do something. Also, Pearson moved. Congratulations, Pearson, on the move. Chris T helped him move, and then he took a dump somewhere in his house. So very good job, Chris. All right, moving into my picks last week, I had Pearson over Kevin. Don't know why I picked Pearson and he lost. I got to stop picking him. Valone over Terry. Valone scored a ton of points and beat Terry. So 1-1 so far. Jake over Brett. That was correct as well. So I was 2-1. Then I had Chris over Otley. Otley won and moved to 4-0. And I had myself over Dean. Dean had a great week. So that's a recap of last week. Not a whole lot fab action. I paid up for Pickens. He had that crazy catch a couple weeks ago, a la Odell Beckham Jr., new quarterback. I think Pickens, he's on the trade market, guys. I got good wide receivers, so somebody send me a running back offer for Pickens. I think he's going to have a nice season with Kenny Pickett. They're going to be slinging the ball. Mitch is horrible. It's definitely an upgrade. So no other real notable fab discussions to have. So let's jump into it. Before I get my predictions for the fantasy games, I'm going to give my Thursday night pick right now. And I've been toying with this one a little bit. Before I even saw the line, I liked the under. And I'm 7-0 on my last 7 picks. They've all been spread bets, for the record. I'm going to go with the under. I like the under tonight. Denver's struggling, loses Javonte Williams. Colts are struggling, they lose Jonathan Taylor. 42.5 is the number I saw, and I'm taking that as my official pick of the podcast, under 42.5. I also kind of think the line's a little fishy that the Colts are only getting 3 points, or 3.5 points in Denver without Jonathan Taylor. So gun to my head, I would pick the Colts, not an official pick, but under 42.5 is my pick. I'll give my other pick later on. Ride it. I am the Thursday night king. So moving into the matchups, we have some really good ones this week, and I have some trash talk to share with the league. So we're going to start off with Dean versus Pearson. Dean is on record saying that he is going to bury Pearson this week and put him out of his misery. He's teetering right now, I guess, at 0-4. He needs to start going on a win streak. He's got the least amount of points in the league. I feel bad talking about how bad he's been lately. I know he's beside himself, but Dean is calling it this week, and I think he's riding high after a big win last week. Pearson just has bad luck. And I look at this matchup, and on the surface, ESPN says it's 50-50. I actually like a lot of Pearson's matchups this week. Aaron Rodgers at home against the Giants. James Robinson, who he traded for, at home against Houston, should have a great week. Mixon has a lot of opportunities, hasn't been cashing in. Devontae Adams in Kansas City in a high-scoring game. He's finally, as of this moment, got Pitts. He's injured, so that might be a blessing in disguise. Pitts has been a awful just piece that's been in his lineup getting him no points, so he's able to sub him out. So I like a lot of Pearson's matchups, but it's kind of like, I think it was my dad last year, it might have been Chris the year before. You just got to quit taking these teams. I cannot pick Pearson to win until he wins a game. So I'm taking Dean. Najee in Buffalo is a horrible matchup. Aaron Jones against the Giants should be good. A.J. Brown in Arizona should be good. DK Metcalf showed that he can still get it done with Geno Smith. I read a stat that Geno Smith could throw the next 34 passes in the ground, and he would still have a higher either passer rating or completion percentage than Russell Wilson. That's embarrassing. So I criticize Dean's team for not having a lot of explosive power, and then they come out and score 180 points against me. So shame on me. But I'm taking Dean in this one just simply because Pearson can't win right now. Moving on to the next matchup. Another matchup with trash talk. Okay, Team S. Brown versus Pearson's father, Kevin. Kevin, on record, guaranteed a victory this week over Chris T. He said, book it. I will beat Chris T this week. And Chris T, 3-1 last week, first sign of mortality. Josh Allen at home against Pittsburgh in a 14-point favored matchup. I saw they're projected 30 points. Him and Diggs are probably going to go off, Kev. I worry about that a little bit because Diggs last week only had 6 for 62, 2 weeks in a row without a touchdown. Whew. I think he's going to have a big week. I think Allen's going to have a big week. Tough matchups for McCaffrey and Connor. Kittle, another guy that's due. And oh, by the way, Chris also has Singletary in that matchup too in his lineup at the moment. So I like those matchups. Really, his Bills could score 75 points potentially. On your side, Chubb is a beast, playing a bad Chargers run defense. Dobbins is surging now at the right time. Gabe Davis stinks. Maybe he'll bounce back this week. I'm hoping. I have him in a couple other leagues. All Clyde does is score, and Chase is due for a bounce back week. I can see Kev winning this game, but I'm going to take Chris T. I haven't been high on Kevin's team this year, but really the kicker here is, Kev has 3 quarterbacks that he's been rotating in and out. I think all 3 of those quarterbacks combined may score less than Josh Allen this week. Right now he's got Goff in. He's been excellent, but I just can't bet against Josh Allen and Diggs in that matchup. I'm sticking with Chris T, going against the Stone Cold Lead Pipe guarantee, lead pipe lock guarantee that Kevin issued on the pod. Moving on to the next matchup, Taylor Ham versus Sunday Shenanigans. Valone on record yesterday said, I don't like Terry's team. Of the teams that are 2-2 and below, I think he's in the most trouble. He does have, like we talked about, Montgomery and Herbert. Could be an issue because Montgomery might play, and then what? They might split. You got to play Montgomery probably, right? But as he banged up, kind of puts Terry in a tough position. Kyler against the tough Eagles defense. Don't love that either. But he's been decent. He's the quarterback 7 through the season. Justin Jefferson, absolute stud. But 2 guys, we talked about it yesterday, Robinson and Schuster just haven't done what we thought they could do in the beginning of the season. And then obviously Christian Kirk has been good, and Mark Andrews is a stud. Don't rule Terry out, but I got to give Brett some kudos right now. Pat on the back to Brett. He is projected 130 points, and that's without Jonathan Taylor, the first overall pick. And to have Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Jeff Wilson Jr. Look, Brett, he's the number 1 waiver pickup guy so far on the season. He got Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jamal Williams off waivers. Jamal Williams running back 3 on the season. Jeff Wilson 26, but he was, the first week he wasn't even on the field. So very polite applause there to Burt. He's still got Jalen Hurts, who's been awesome. He's got Kamara, who is due against a bad Seattle defense. And he still has Sutton, Tyreek Hill, and Lazard. Oh, he still has DJ Moore and Robert Woods, too. Another team that I think has some depth that could play into things. However, he is 2-2, and I have more points scored than him on the season, and I'm 1-3. So I don't know. I like Brett's team going forward. I think he takes care of business this week versus Terry. Moving on to the matchup of the week, we foreshadowed it last night. Chris Vallone picked himself. Boy, what a surprise. The 4-0 Atlee Hewlings with the third most points in the league. He also has the least points against through 4 weeks, so a little bit of good fortune for Atlee. Another story from him, he said he was down 16 in another league with San Francisco's defense, and they scored 17. He might have some mojo going right now, a little luck in his favor, and that you need that in fantasy. Lamar versus Cincinnati in a shootout. Malone said he thought maybe they could get in Lamar's head and stymie him a little bit. I disagree. I think Lamar's going to have a big week this week. I said last night that I think Dalvin is due this week to have a good week against Chicago at home as 7-point favorites. I think he scores a touchdown. So, where Atlee's weakness is, Bateman's a little banged up. He's got Mostert in his lineup right now. And we talked about it. The number one quarterback, the number one tight end, helping some of these shortnesses he's getting at the skill position players. And again, Cook is not a weakness, but he's the running back 24 through 4 weeks. If he starts to pick it up, which I think he will, Atlee's built for a long run here, guys. This week, do I think he'll beat Vallone? Let's look at it. Vallone, great running back matchups. Eckler against the Browns, he scored 3 touchdowns last week. Miles Sanders against Arizona, I like that too. CeeDee's been good. Debo proved last week how good he can be. Waddle is a little hobbled, but he's playing the Jets. And then you got Patrick Mahomes Monday night against Vegas. This is the toughest pick for me. It's a matchup of the week for a reason. I'm taking Vallone. I've picked him every game so far this year, and I'm 3-1. Atlee, I picked you to lose last week, and you won, so maybe you should be happy. Run the stats out. I know you like to do this. What's my record picking your games this year? Tell me if I'm above 500 after this week. I'm going with MGA, Vallone. I think he takes down Ott here in week 5. And that brings us to the matchup of the week runner-up. Me versus my brother, always a battle. Jake, thought he didn't have a great team. He didn't like his team. And then we talked about it last night. You can go watch a full recap on his team last night. Vallone thinks he's legit and has a chance to take off. We said Henry, Barkley, Zeke, very stacked at the running back position. Wide receivers somewhat weak, but Lockett's been solid. Evans is obviously great. I have Brady, which is, I guess, good and bad for Evans. Depending on how you look at it, I need Brady hopefully to throw to some other guys. But I'll be honest with you guys. I lost Javonte Williams in 2 leagues, and he was like my home run this year. Had to have him on my team, and it was upsetting. But I said it to Vallone last night. I think my team actually got better with Javonte Williams getting hurt. Why? I can play Dameon Pierce, who's been great, and Javonte, even though he had high hopes, he wasn't scoring anything for me. So I get Chris Godwin back, which just does not only elevate him, it elevates Tom Brady. I'm going to go on record right now, and I think Tom Brady is going to be on a revenge tour right now. He's had a tough first 4 weeks, the divorce, no receivers, bad schedule. He's back now at home. They're 0-2 against at home this season. They're playing Atlanta. Tom is 10-0 against Atlanta. Okay? He's 4-0 as a Buccaneer against Atlanta. His stats as a Buccaneer against Atlanta are astronomical. This includes a Super Bowl victory when they were down 28-3, by the way. Oh, and Chris Godwin against the Falcons. 9 career games, 9 career touchdowns against Atlanta. Last game, he scored 6 touchdowns in 6 straight games against Atlanta. Last game he played him, he broke that streak. He didn't score, but he had 15 catches for 143 yards. He's back. I'm back, okay? I think that he has a big week. Brady has a big week. A.J. Dillon gets in the end zone this week. And my weakest start from a schedule perspective is probably tonight with Pittman. I need Pittman to get me off to a good start and not kill me. But I'm taking myself over Jake here in week 5. Now, my other pick is Jacksonville -7. You look at this game to begin the season. They're at home against Houston. 2 pretty bad teams. You would think that it's probably like a 3-point game. Jacksonville has no business giving 7 points to anybody. Vegas is really favoring them. They're daring you to bet Houston. This has nothing to do with anything other than the line. The line tells me to bet Jacksonville, and I picked 7 in a row against the line. So there's my predictions, boys. I hope you have a good week. This is my bounce back week, 1-3. I'm playing on hard mode now. I got to try and come back from 1-3. But I like a challenge. I will not die. I will stick with it. I'm going to dig myself out of this hole. Gentlemen, enjoy your week and go under.